Yep. On a daily basis, I consume enough drugs to sedate.
What if I told you the scariest part of Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence's brand new movie isn't a monster or a killer, but something way more real? Because the internet saw one first look image, two people holding hands in the snow, and immediately started using the same word, devastating. And today, I'm going to tell you the heartbreaking reason people are convinced this film is going to hit like a truck, and why it might be the most emotionally brutal thing Martin Scorsese has made in years. Okay, real quick. This isn't rumor talk. This movie is real, it's in production, and the first look dropped on March 19th, 2026. It's called What Happens at Night. We bring such videos on daily basis, so don't forget to like and subscribe the channel, and yes, DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are the leads, but here's where the tone gets icy. The premise, at least what's publicly described, is simple and terrifying in a quiet way. A married American couple travels to a snowy European town to adopt a baby. That's not a thriller yet, until you learn the detail that flips everything. Because, according to the official synopsis of the novel the film is based on, the wife is battling cancer. And suddenly, the adoption trip isn't just a new chapter. It feels like a last chance. Now sit with that for a second. If you were fighting for time, real time, would you try to build a future anyway? Would you try to bring a child into that future? And then the story funnels them into the most unsettling place imaginable. A massive, grand hotel, eerily quiet, but still full of people you can't quite read. A chanteuse, a businessman, a faith healer, and the vibe, based on the published synopsis, is that you're never fully sure who's helping and who's watching. But here's the key. This isn't scary in a popcorn way. It's dread. It's quiet menace, like the kind of dream you can't wake up from. And that brings us to the word everyone keeps repeating, devastating. Because yes, the plot is heartbreaking on paper, but the heartbreaking reason people think it'll be devastating is actually bigger than the plot. It's about why people believe Scorsese is the one director who can make this feel painfully real. Over the last couple years, Scorsese has publicly talked about living alongside his wife's Parkinson's, describing that reality as something that changes how you perceive life and everything around you. And reporting about his family, has stated his wife was diagnosed in 1990. Now, let me be crystal clear. There is no official statement that this movie is autobiographical, but social media did what social media always does. It connected the dots emotionally, a story about illness, mortality, love under pressure, a director who has openly spoken about decades of caregiving and resilience in his own home. So people started saying, this won't just be a thriller, it'll be grief with a heartbeat. And you've probably seen posts framing it like it's some kind of personal message from Scorsese again. That's interpretation, not confirmed intent. But it shows you how people are pre-feeling this movie. That's the gut punch. This isn't a story where the characters are chasing something shiny. They're chasing a future, while the clock is screaming. And if the film preserves the emotional core of the book, it's not just about fear. It's about that specific kind of fear where you feel time running out, and you still have to make choices. Let me ask you something, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. Do you think a movie like this is more haunting when it leans into mystery and symbolism, or more haunting when it stays brutally realistic? Mystery or realism, which devastates you more? Because there's one more reason this might hit people even harder than they're expecting. The setting. When a story like this puts grief inside a strange hotel, where nothing feels stable, and the couple starts feeling like they know less, and less about the world around them, the fear stops being, what's out there? And it becomes, what if the worst thing isn't the hotel? What if it's what the stress reveals inside your marriage? Think about that. You're traveling for a baby. Your partner is sick. You're both exhausted. You're in a country you don't understand. And the place you're staying feels like it's designed to test you. Not with jump scares, with doubt, with exhaustion, with the kind of dread that feels adult. And if you've seen Scorsese's work, you know he doesn't flinch away from human pain. So here's the careful, honest version of what we know. The film is in production, and we've seen the first look. It's adapted from Peter Cameron's novel, and the published synopsis includes the wife's cancer and the unsettling "something is off" hotel dynamic. Scorsese has publicly spoken about his wife's decades-long Parkinson's journey. What we don't have is any official statement that the movie is directly about his wife. That part is audience interpretation, people projecting because the emotional overlap feels intense. And honestly, that projection is part of why the hype feels so heavy. Now here's what I really want to know, and what we'll watch for the second a trailer drops. Do they market this as a mystery thriller, or do they market it as a heartbreak story that happens to be wrapped in mystery? Because whichever way they go, the emotional payload is already loaded. So that's the heartbreaking reason people keep calling this movie devastating before we've even seen a single scene. It's a story built on illness and fragile hope told by a director the public associates with real, lived proximity to long-term suffering, and wrapped in a setting that turns private pain into psychological pressure. And if that's the recipe, yeah, bring tissues. If you want, I can also do a follow-up the moment we get a release window or a trailer breaking down the marketing choices, the tone, and what the trailer suggests the movie is really aiming for. So hit subscribe and comment one word: tissues if you think this ends in heartbreak, or twist if you think Scorsese is about to mess with our minds. Either way, we're probably not leaving this one emotionally intact.